Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. You know that feeling when you're with a woman you deeply care about and yet somehow the conversation feels like you're walking through fog. You speak, you share, you show up, but her eyes seem distant or her words seem to slip away from what you thought you were building. It's not just confusing, it's exhausting. You wonder why everything felt so clear when you first met and why now it feels like every word is a puzzle you don't know how to solve. This is exactly where so many men find themselves, not because they lack effort or sincerity, but because they don't understand something deeper, something invisible yet profoundly shaping every interaction they have with women, the secret psychology of women and love itself, and that's why we're here today. In this video, we're going to explore something most men never learn but desperately need to. What drives women emotionally, how love feels different inside her heart compared to yours, and how adopting a stoic mindset can help you not only understand her, but stay grounded, calm, and connected as you navigate love, dating, and relationships. The truth is, emotional mastery is everything. Without it, we fall into the same cycles: we overpursue, we react, we cling, or we withdraw too soon. With emotional mastery, we stay calm even in confusion, we listen without the need to fix, and we begin to understand that women's psychology isn't chaos, it's rhythm. So let's begin. At the heart of women's psychology is something many men miss entirely: emotional responsiveness. Women are not looking for men who simply say the right words. They're not moved by strategy or scripts. They are moved by how attuned you are to the emotional landscape of a moment, not just what is said, but the feeling underneath. Think about it. You could say "I love you" 1,000 times, but if your energy feels distracted, rushed, or needy, those words won't land. On the other hand, you could say almost nothing at all, but if your energy is calm, present, and attuned, she will feel safer and more connected than ever. This is where stoicism becomes your ally. A stoic approach to love isn't cold or distant, that's a misunderstanding. Stoicism is about cultivating an inner steadiness, a self-mastery that allows you to stand strong and clear even when the waves of her emotions rise and fall. It's about listening without panic, observing without immediate reaction, holding space without trying to control the outcome. So when she's expressing something intense, maybe anger, sadness, doubt, your task is not to solve it or defend yourself. Your task is simply to witness her emotion without losing your own ground. When you hold steady like this, you communicate something incredibly powerful. I see you, I'm not afraid of your emotions, I won't run and I won't collapse. And this is where the psychology of women becomes both simple and profound. Women often test the emotional presence of a man, not maliciously, but instinctively. Her storms are not necessarily about you, but about whether she feels safe enough to reveal her full emotional self. A man who collapses under this test, who reacts, argues, defends, or withdraws, confirms her deepest fear, that his strength was fragile. A man who holds steady not with arrogance, but with warmth and quiet strength, allows her to relax. Let's go even deeper. Women are intuitive creatures. They feel the undercurrent beneath your words. This means that honesty isn't just about telling the truth, it's about embodying congruence. If you say "everything's fine," but you're anxious inside, she feels that incongruence and it creates mistrust, even if she doesn't consciously know why. But when your words and your state are aligned, when your "everything's fine" comes from actual calm, she feels safe and connection deepens effortlessly. So the first secret here is simple, but requires practice. Be present enough to notice your own internal state and master it before you speak. This might sound small, but it's everything. Before you text her back, before you ask her out, before you enter the room where she's waiting for you, take a breath, return to center, and ask yourself, am I grounded right now? If you're not, she'll feel it even if she smiles and responds politely. Something will remain just out of reach. If you are, she'll melt into that presence, often without even knowing why. It's why women sometimes say things like, "I just feel calm around him," or "he has this grounded energy I can't explain." That's not an accident. That's a man who is not tossed about by every emotion, every doubt, every insecurity, a man who meets life and love with steadiness. And this steadiness isn't about suppressing emotion. Stoicism doesn't ask you to repress what you feel. It asks you to become aware of it, so that you can choose how to respond. Picture this. A woman you're dating expresses something emotional. Maybe she says, "I feel like you're not really listening to me lately." Most men will rush to defend themselves. "What are you talking about? I am listening. I just did this and this and this for you." But a stoic man takes a breath. He allows that comment to land. He notices that maybe his ego feels attacked, but he doesn't let that dictate his next words. Instead, he softens into presence and says, "I hear that you're feeling unheard. Tell me more." That's mastery. And this is exactly why emotional self-awareness is your secret weapon. Women are wired to feel safe with a man who is emotionally self-aware, who can stay calm when she can't, who can listen without falling apart, who can remain steady and warm even in conflict or uncertainty. This emotional safety creates attraction that no amount of looks, money, or clever lines can ever replace. So before we move forward, here's something you can begin practicing right now. In every interaction with a woman, before speaking or responding, take a breath. Notice your emotional state. Feel your feet on the floor. Ground yourself in this moment. When you do this consistently, you will not only change your experience of relationships, you will change how women experience you. Now, we've just begun peeling back the layers of this secret psychology. We've touched on emotional presence, attunement, and groundedness, but there's so much more to uncover. And when we think about this deeper level of presence, it's not just about learning a technique or memorizing the right thing to say. It's about embodying a way of being that women instinctively recognize as trustworthy. A woman's heart responds to what she feels, not what she hears. If you want to connect with her on a level that goes beyond attraction, beyond seduction, you have to become a man who is capable of sitting in the fire of emotion without flinching. That's where so many men lose themselves. They feel that if they show too much patience, if they hold space too long, they're somehow giving away power. But that couldn't be further from the truth. True power, the kind that women are drawn to, is quiet, steady, and self-contained. It isn't reactive, it isn't desperate for approval, and it certainly doesn't need to prove itself by dominating a conversation or trying to fix her feelings. There's something beautiful that happens when you stop needing to control a woman's emotional world and start respecting it as her own. When she cries, she doesn't necessarily want a solution. When she's upset, she isn't always asking for answers. What she is often searching for is this simple but rare experience, to be met with presence and understood without judgment. And here's the paradox that many men miss. The more you try to force a woman into clarity or stability, the more she resists. The more you simply hold space with steadiness and calm, the more her emotional world begins to settle itself, not because you made her change, but because your energy gave her permission to relax. This is not easy work. It requires a kind of emotional discipline that most men were never taught, but that's exactly why it's so attractive when you master it. Women feel when they're with a man who isn't addicted to fixing or controlling. They feel when you're capable of holding your own center, even while the winds of emotion swirl around you. Now let's talk about an even subtler aspect of this dynamic, energy polarity. The feminine is naturally expressive, changeable, emotional, flowing, and the masculine, when healthy, provides a container of stillness and steadiness that allows that flow to move freely. When you become that steady container, a woman feels safe to fully express herself, not because you're solving her emotions, but because you're not overwhelmed by them. This is where many men confuse emotional control with emotional suppression. Suppression is when you bottle everything up and pretend you don't care, shutting down to protect yourself. Control, in the Stoic sense, is about mastery, feeling everything, noticing everything, but choosing consciously how to respond. A Stoic man knows that his value is not in how quickly he can react, but in how deeply he can remain present. When she's emotional, you don't have to defend yourself and you don't have to abandon her. You simply remained calm. A quiet strength that says, I am here, I see you, I hear you, and I am not afraid. This presence isn't a performance, it's a state of being. And it requires that you yourself have done your emotional work, that you know how to sit with your own feelings without needing them to be resolved right away. Because if you can't sit with your own discomfort, how can you possibly sit with hers? This is the second secret psychology of women that most men miss entirely. Emotional safety is felt, not negotiated. You can't talk a woman into trusting you emotionally. You can't persuade her with clever arguments that you're a good guy who understands her feelings. She feels it or she doesn't, and that feeling comes from how you show up moment to moment, especially in those small, charged interactions when she tests you without even realizing she's testing. You'll recognize these moments, a playful tease that turns into a sharp jab, a casual statement that suddenly seems to question your intentions or your masculinity, a complaint that seems disproportionate to what just happened. These are not traps to avoid or problems to solve, they are opportunities to show her, without words, that you can remain steady. This doesn't mean tolerating disrespect. It means that when you feel challenged, you check in with yourself first. Before reacting, you ask, am I grounded right now? Am I responding from calm presence or from hurt pride? That pause, that moment of self-awareness is where your power lies. And women sense this deeply. The truth is, most women are constantly navigating a world that feels unpredictable, unsafe, and emotionally demanding. When they meet a man who is truly self-contained, who has mastered his own nervous system and emotions, it feels like coming home. So think about that next time you're on a date, or in a relationship that feels difficult, or even in an argument where you feel misunderstood. The goal is not to win, the goal is to stay connected to yourself first and then to her. This is why presence matters more than perfection. You will make mistakes, you will misunderstand her sometimes, you will say things you didn't mean or fail to meet an expectation you didn't even know she had. But if your presence is steady, if your emotional core is strong, she will feel safe even in those imperfect moments. And that's what creates true intimacy, not avoiding conflict, but remaining open and grounded through it. Not needing to rush to solutions, but allowing space for emotions to rise and fall naturally, without panic or retreat. The more you embody this, the more women will trust you, and not just trust you as a romantic partner, but as a man. This is the secret of emotional connection that transcends attraction. It's about becoming a man who no longer fears the unpredictable nature of love itself. Because love will test you, love will ask you to stay steady when you want to run, love will ask you to open your heart when you feel the urge to close it. Love will ask you to remain calm when everything feels chaotic, and women intuitively recognize this in a man who has done his work. She may not be able to name it, but she feels it in every interaction. She feels it in your tone of voice. She feels it in your silence. She feels it in the way you meet her gaze without tension. So as we continue this journey together, remember this simple but profound truth. The secret psychology of women isn't about decoding mysterious behaviors or memorizing tricks to get her attention. It's about mastering your own emotional landscape so fully that she feels safe, seen, and understood simply by being in your presence. There's something else we need to speak about, and it's subtle but vital. How you perceive yourself when you're with a woman matters far more than what you say or do. Self-perception becomes the quiet soundtrack playing underneath your conversations. Even when you think you're hiding your insecurities or masking your doubts, she feels them. And what's fascinating is that women aren't looking for perfection. They're looking for authenticity anchored in confidence. A man who doubts himself but pretends he doesn't is far less attractive than a man who quietly knows his worth even as he admits he's learning and growing. This is where many men unknowingly trip. They think confidence is about bravado, about being loud, about showing that they know it all. But true confidence, the confidence that resonates with a woman's heart, is gentle, steady, and humble. It's knowing your value without needing external validation. It's being at peace with the fact that you may not understand everything about her, but you're willing to show up anyway, curious and open. When you embody this quiet, humble confidence, you remove the tension that so often blocks connection. Think about how different that feels when you go on a date and you're preoccupied with impressing her, proving yourself, and carefully navigating each moment as if it's a test. She senses your anxiety, even if you're smiling and saying all the right things. On the other hand, when you show up as a man who is simply content to experience her company, who listens not to respond but to understand, who doesn't rush or cling, that's when she begins to soften in your presence. This is exactly why women say things like, "I just felt comfortable around him," or "I felt like I could be myself." That comfort isn't random. It's a direct reflection of how safe you feel within yourself. And this is where the Stoic mindset serves you deeply. The Stoic man understands that approval, praise, even romantic interest, these are all external to his peace. He values them, but he does not depend on them, and that subtle shift changes everything about how a woman experiences you. When she feels that you are not performing for her validation, but rather engaging from a place of inner stability, she can finally relax into her feminine energy, into her own vulnerability. This relaxation is what creates intimacy, not your achievements, not your cleverness, not your image. It's your steadiness and ease within your own skin that allows her to lower her guard and meet you where she truly lives, in emotion, intuition, and feeling. And as we go deeper into this secret psychology of women and love, you'll notice that women often mirror the energy you bring. When you're tense, she becomes guarded. When you're scattered, she seems confused. When you're rushed, she appears unavailable. But when you're calm and steady, she responds by softening, opening, revealing herself in ways that surprise even her. This mirroring is not manipulation, it's biology. Women are emotionally attuned creatures. They reflect the emotional weather of the man standing before them. If you want deeper connection, the work is simple. Create peace inside yourself, and that peace will naturally extend to her. This is why timing matters so much less than most men think. Some men rush conversations, rush relationships, rush intimacy, all out of fear that they'll lose the connection if they wait. But rushing always communicates insecurity, and insecurity is the very thing that erodes attraction over time. When you adopt a Stoic patience, you communicate, "I am not desperate. I am not rushing to force a connection. I value this interaction for what it is, and if it blossoms, it will be because both of us feel free." That freedom is intoxicating to a woman. It allows her to bring her full self without feeling pressured to be something she's not. This is the art of what I like to call romantic detachment, caring deeply about connection, but being unattached to any specific outcome. It sounds paradoxical at first, but it's one of the most powerful postures a man can hold. When you care but do not cling, love but do not grasp, show up but do not chase, women feel liberated around you. And ironically, this liberation makes them want to come closer. A woman's deepest yearning is to feel emotionally free, and most women don't even realize this consciously. But freedom is what allows her to let go of performance, to drop her defenses, to reveal her playful, feminine, emotional nature. And you, as a grounded, stoic man, become the container for that freedom simply by not needing her to behave a certain way to feel secure. This is what separates a man who is trying to get a woman from a man who inspires women to want to stay. The difference is internal energy, not external tactics. The man who inspires loyalty, devotion, and depth is the one who can offer her that rare feeling of freedom within emotional safety. So the next time you catch yourself thinking about what to say next, or worrying if you're interesting enough, or second, guessing how she perceives you, pause. Return to center, feel your body. Remember that your presence, your energy, and your calm are worth more than any clever remark or performance. And that's why mastering your own inner state must become a daily practice, not just for your relationships, but for your entire life. The more you can cultivate inner steadiness, the more all your relationships will transform naturally. This journey isn't about being emotionless or cold. It's about being fully alive, fully human, and yet deeply anchored. When she cries, you don't rush to fix. When she doubts, you don't rush to reassure. When she tests, you don't rush to defend. You meet her exactly where she is, without panic, without needing her to be any different in order for you to feel okay. This is where the secret psychology of women becomes a gift rather than a mystery. When you master yourself, her emotions become beautiful expressions rather than confusing signals. When you stand steady, her feminine energy feels free to flow. When you drop performance and simply embody presence, love becomes effortless. And as you begin to practice this way of being, of showing up steady, grounded, and unattached, something even more remarkable unfolds. You start to experience your own freedom, too. Because it's not only women who seek emotional freedom, you do too. The difference is that many men have been conditioned to believe that control equals freedom. Control over circumstances, control over emotions, control over outcomes. But in truth, that kind of control becomes a prison. You become enslaved to performance, to expectation, to how she reacts or doesn't react, to whether you win her affection or not. Real freedom, the kind that Stoicism invites you into, is freedom from needing to control at all. It's the quiet strength of knowing that you are complete as you are, that you can desire connection without dependency, that you can care deeply without clutching, and this, ironically, is what women find so irresistible. The man who is free is the man who makes a woman feel safe enough to open her heart fully. When you walk into a room or sit across from her on a date, you bring your whole self, but you're not trying to sell yourself. You're not marketing, you're not editing yourself to match what you think she wants. You're simply being present and grounded and observing the dance between you without rushing its rhythm. It's a dance, not a race, and in this dance you become attuned not only to her words, but to her energy. Because women speak in layers, her words may say one thing, but her body language, her tone, her timing reveal something deeper. If you're in your head strategizing, you'll miss it. If you're in your body, calm and present, you'll feel it. For example, she might say, "I'm fine," but her eyes tell you otherwise. Her smile might come with a slight tension in her shoulders, or a quick glance away. In that moment, a stoic man doesn't challenge or interrogate. He notices quietly, he holds space, he may gently say, "You seem a little distant right now, is there something on your mind?" That simple observation, free of accusation, free of urgency, can melt the walls she didn't even realize she was holding. You see, when you practice presence like this, you train yourself to meet her where she really is, not where she pretends to be or where you wish she would be. And that's why women often say that their deepest longing is to feel seen, not superficially, but deeply, truly seen. That longing is rarely fulfilled because most men are so preoccupied with their own insecurities, desires, and performance that they stop seeing the woman sitting right in front of them. You become rare when you make this shift. You become the man who isn't looking for validation from her, but is genuinely curious about who she is beneath the surface. You listen for what is unsaid. You notice when her mood changes. You hold that noticing with care without trying to fix it immediately, and in doing so, you communicate something that no words can replace, that you're present. Presence is one of the deepest gifts you can give a woman, and it costs nothing but your attention and self-awareness. And here's what makes this practice so powerful. The more present you are, the more you discover about yourself too. Her emotional shifts become invitations for you to stay anchored. Her storms become opportunities for you to learn about your own reactivity, your triggers, your need for control. Every moment becomes a chance to return to your center and strengthen your inner stability. This is why dating and relationships aren't just about connection with another person. They are arenas for your own personal mastery. Every time you meet her emotional world without collapsing into it or defending against it, you train yourself to live from your strongest, most grounded self. And women can't help but respond to that strength. When she feels that she can express herself fully without being judged, fixed, or rushed, she begins to relax into trust. And trust is the foundation of lasting intimacy. So often, men chase affection while forgetting that trust is what truly opens a woman's heart. Affection might win you attention for a moment, but trust is what keeps her coming back. Trust that you can handle the full range of her being, not just the parts that are convenient, easy, or light-hearted. And here's something that surprises many men. Women often test that trust without even realizing they're doing it. Sometimes she'll challenge you, not because she wants conflict, but because she's trying to feel the strength of your steadiness. It's instinctive, not calculated. When you react defensively or collapse under pressure, she feels less safe, not because she doesn't care, but because she senses that you're not steady enough to hold the emotional space she needs. When you meet her challenge with calm presence, when you stay warm even as you set healthy boundaries, when you let her emotions rise and fall like waves without becoming those waves yourself, that's when she relaxes and begins to open her deepest, most authentic self. And in that space, love stops being work. It stops feeling like a puzzle to solve or a performance to perfect. It becomes a dance of presence and energy, of masculine steadiness and feminine flow. That's what this journey is about, not mastering women, but mastering yourself so that love becomes natural, effortless, and profound. And when love becomes natural like this, you begin to notice something else. All the old games, strategies, and tricks that so many men chase, they start to feel irrelevant. You no longer need to manipulate attention, guess texts, or rehearse lines to impress. The connection itself becomes the guide, and you trust that your calm, grounded energy is enough. This is one of the most liberating feelings you can experience as a man. You stop chasing validation, and instead you attract it effortlessly. Women who once felt distant or guarded start leaning in more naturally. They trust you not because you're perfect, but because you're consistent, steady, real. In this space of emotional freedom, something subtle but profound shifts in how you experience dating, relationships, and love itself. You no longer see a woman's emotional complexity as a challenge to decode or a problem to fix. You see it as part of the richness of relating. You begin to appreciate the full spectrum of what she brings. Her joy, her tears, her lightness, her mystery, without needing her to simplify herself for your comfort. And she feels that appreciation. When a woman feels that you don't just tolerate her emotions but value them, when she feels you don't run from her intensity but welcome it, she begins to trust you not just with her words, but with her heart. This is where deeper intimacy lies, beyond the surface-level attraction so many men settle for. But this ability to hold emotional space isn't something that happens just by deciding you want it. It must be cultivated, practiced every day. Every time you feel reactive, every time you catch yourself getting pulled into an argument, every time you sense your energy tightening or your patience thinning, these are your practice grounds. Instead of fighting these moments or blaming her for triggering you, you pause, breathe, return to your center. You ask yourself gently, can I stay present right now? Can I listen without needing to control? Can I be still while she moves through her emotions? And when you do, you'll begin to notice something beautiful. Her emotional storms don't last as long. Her moods soften quicker. Her affection deepens faster. Not because you're controlling her, but because your steadiness gives her nervous system a place to settle. This is what real masculine presence does. It soothes without suppressing, it calms without controlling, it allows without collapsing. Imagine how different your dating life would feel if this was your foundation. No more walking on eggshells. No more wondering if she's losing interest because of something you said or didn't say. No more need to analyze every interaction or seek reassurance constantly. Instead, you show up as yourself, steady, calm, centered, and you allow connection to unfold at its natural pace. And women respond to this authenticity in ways that will surprise you, because at the end of the day, attraction isn't a game of tricks, it's a dance of energy. When your energy is grounded, relaxed, confident without arrogance, she feels it and she begins to lean in, not because you're forcing her to, but because your steadiness feels like an emotional safe harbor. This is the psychology of women that so many miss. They are not asking you to fix their world, they're asking you to stay present in it. So the next time you find yourself in a moment of tension, maybe she's upset about something, or you feel misunderstood, or an argument seems to be brewing, try this simple but powerful practice. Slow everything down inside yourself, feel your breath, notice the tension in your body and let it go. Look her in the eye gently without defensiveness, and then instead of rushing to respond or defend, simply say what you genuinely feel. I'm here with you, I'm listening. That moment of presence is worth more than any perfect comeback, any clever line, any apology that comes from panic or fear. And what's beautiful about this practice is that it doesn't just improve your relationship with women, it transforms your entire life. You become calmer in your work, clearer with friends, more self-assured when facing challenges. Because emotional mastery is not a skill reserved for romance, it's the foundation of a powerful, purposeful life. And as you continue walking this path of emotional self-awareness, you'll notice that women begin to trust you faster, open up more deeply, and stay longer, not because you did something to make them, but because your very presence invites that kind of connection. You stop feeling desperate for love and start feeling at home in it. This is where freedom lies, in knowing that you are enough as you are, grounded in your calm presence, willing to meet a woman's emotional world without losing yourself in it. And as you practice this, you embody a deeper masculine energy that isn't about control or conquest, but about holding space for truth, emotion, and connection to arise naturally. And the beautiful irony is that when you let go of chasing outcomes, when you stop needing to control how she feels about you, when you stop measuring your worth by how quickly affection is returned, that's when the most genuine connections begin to emerge. You become magnetic, not because you're trying to be, but because your very presence communicates freedom, strength, and emotional mastery. Women sense this on a level they may never articulate, but they feel it deeply. It's a rare kind of man who doesn't flinch when emotions get messy, who doesn't retreat when love feels uncertain, and who doesn't collapse when things don't go exactly as planned. That kind of man stands out immediately. And what's most compelling about him isn't that he's perfect, it's that he's grounded. He knows his worth even in the face of rejection, even in silence, even in disappointment. This is what Stoicism offers you, not detachment from life or love, but detachment from needing life and love to go a particular way in order for you to feel whole. And from that place of quiet power, you find yourself free to actually love. Not the needy, clinging love that so often passes for connection, but a love that gives space, that holds presence, that offers the safety of acceptance. Imagine the shift this creates. You no longer fear when a woman is distant, because you know your presence will naturally invite her back when she's ready. You no longer panic when there's tension, because you trust that your steadiness will help navigate the storm. You no longer overthink every interaction, because you realize that your value was never in performing perfectly, it was in simply showing up fully. This kind of love is deeply attractive. Women don't need you to be flawless. They don't even need you to understand everything about their psychology. They need to feel that you can hold your own ground while offering a space where they can feel, express, and unfold. They need to feel that their emotions won't scare you, that their complexity won't overwhelm you, that their moods won't define your worth. And when you embody that, you create an emotional home, a place where love can breathe, where trust can grow, where passion can deepen without fear. That's when you stop trying to attract women and start simply being the kind of man women feel safe with, curious about, and drawn toward. The kind of man who is at peace with himself, no longer performing, no longer chasing, but deeply rooted in the moment, present, aware, and steady. So as we close this conversation, I want to leave you with this thought: every interaction with a woman is an invitation to practice presence. Every conversation, every moment of conflict, every glance across the table is an opportunity to breathe, to ground yourself, to choose steadiness over reactivity, curiosity over fear, presence over performance. This isn't about memorizing strategies or fixing yourself into a perfect version of Hive, you man. This is about becoming so deeply at home in yourself that women feel that home when they are with you. You are enough, not when she validates you, not when the relationship goes perfectly, not when she mirrors your affection exactly as you hope, but right now, in this moment, exactly as you are, if you choose to show up grounded and present. So the next time you feel pulled to analyze what she's thinking, or chase her attention, or withdraw because you're confused by her emotions, pause, breathe, ground yourself, and ask a quieter question. Can I simply be with what is here, without needing to fix it or run from it? That is emotional mastery. That is freedom, and that is where the secret psychology of women and love meets your deepest masculine strength. You don't need to impress her with words, status, or cleverness. Your calm presence is enough. Your steadiness is what allows her to relax, to soften, to reveal the fullness of who she is. So here's what I want you to remember as we part. Love is not a puzzle to solve. It's a presence to embody. And when you embody that presence, women will naturally feel drawn to you, not because you chased them, but because you made them feel safe enough to stop running. Thank you for being here and walking this journey with me today. If you felt this message speak to you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so we can continue building this community together. Your journey toward deeper connection, emotional mastery, and freedom is just beginning, and you're not alone. Here's to becoming the man you were always meant to be, grounded, present, and fully alive in love.